Families. My name is Ms. Hooper, and I am an interventionist here at Laverne Primary School, and I'm going to talk to you today about how to read with your child at home and the importance of reading with your child at home. So you may have seen these reading strategies before. These are strategies that we use here at school. Instead of just telling a child to sound out the word, in kindergarten, we encourage them to use their eagle eye, which means to look at the pictures, to use lips of fish, which tells them to get their lips ready to make the first sound. So like if the word was fish, they would get their lips ready to make the sound. That helps them come up with what the word is. And then also stretchy snake, which means to stretch it out, sound out the word. In first grade, we move towards some more challenging reading strategies. We encourage first graders to use Chunky Monkey, which means to break up the word into chunks. To find chunks that they already know within a bigger word can help them attack that word. Skippy Frog, which means just to skip right over it if you don't know what it is and then come back to it later. Flippy Dolphin, which means to flip the vowel. So instead of using the short vowel sound, use the long vowel sound. So if the word was rain, instead of saying ran, you can flip that A and say A instead, rain, and then see which one makes sense in the passage. And then try and lion. Just keep trying different words until you find one that makes sense, looks right, and sounds right in the text that you're reading. Okay, so here are some ways that you can read with a beginning reader. This is especially important for our kindergarten students. It's important to let them look at the pictures before you read with them. You can talk about what they think might happen in the book. You can encourage them to follow along and point to the words as you read. You can read a word or a sentence to them and then have them repeat after you. If your child is reading, you can take turns reading each page. You can talk about the story as you read, talk about what's happening, what do you think will happen next, and then read the story again and again. Reading the same stories over and over helps build fluency and confidence in your reader. So a lot of times we hear from parents, oh, they've just memorized the story, or they're just repeating what I say. And then you think that you're doing something wrong, or you think they're not learning to read. But we want you to know that repetition and memorization are totally okay. It is okay for them to use the pictures to help them read. This is called Eagle Eye, which is one of our strategies that I just talked about. And this is the first step in the reading process. We want them to be looking at the pictures. So you should never cover up the pictures while you're reading with your child. And it's also okay for them to want to read the same book over and over. This is called a familiar read, and it helps your child build fluency, and it helps them feel confident that they can read a book. We all have that book that we just loved as a kid, and you probably read it over and over and over. This is good. We want to encourage that. And studies show that we learn best from repetition, and this is also true when it comes to reading. Developing reading routines is a great way to work on learning to read. So doing the same thing over and over is actually going to build a better reader. Okay, so this is something that you can do with your student as you're reading out loud to them. You can have them help you find print concepts. So print concepts are just parts of the book. So you can help them find the front of the book, the back of the book, the title, the author, the illustrator, the title page, a page in the book, a certain word. Like if you know that your student is working on the word the that week, you can have them find the word the in the book. A period or a question mark or an exclamation point, a capital letter, a lowercase letter. These are all great things to have your child find, and these are the beginning steps to reading. So it's important that while you're reading, you're also asking some good questions. So here we have some questions that you can ask while or before you start reading the book, while you're reading the book, and then after you're reading the book with your child. You can talk about like what do you think will happen in this story? Where do you think it'll take place? What questions do you have during the story? You can ask your child, what do you think will happen next? Can you tell me what's happened so far? How do you feel about the story so far? And then after, you can ask them, what was the problem in the story? What was the solution in the story? What was your favorite part? Your least favorite part? What would you change in the story? It's important just to have a conversation while you're reading. And then I want to just tell you guys about why reading out loud is so important and why we really believe that should be happening every night. So reading out loud develops fluency and comprehension. So that means that it helps your students hear what a smooth reader sounds like. So when we as adults read, we don't sound out every single word. We just know what the words are. And that's really important for students to hear so they know what reading should sound like. It also helps them with their comprehension, so it helps them be able to answer questions about the story when they hear someone else read it out loud. It takes the pressure off of your kiddos to sound out words and to read smoothly, and it lets them just be able to listen and to hear some new words that they may not hear in just spoken conversation, and it also helps them build vocabulary, especially if English is not your native language, it's not the language spoken at home. It helps them to learn new vocabulary words in English. It's also just an enjoyable and a fun experience. You will build a bond and you will build a relationship with your child as you're reading out loud. They can come sit in your lap and get their favorite stuffed animal, and it's just a time to spend together. It shows to your student that you value reading and that you think reading is important. So these are just some different ways that you can read with your child. So you can read out loud to them. You can echo read. So that means that you read a sentence or a page and then your child reads the exact same thing back to you. You can choral read, which means that you both read the story out loud together at the same time. Or you can have them follow you. So you read a word and then they read a word, and then you read a word and they read a word, and you kind of take turns and just kind of stop in the middle of the sentence and let them take over. So I really appreciate your time and your attention. I hope that you learned something new, and I hope you enjoy reading with your students. Thank you.